Okay, so good morning, good evening, everyone. Uh, First of all, thank you to Mr. Brendan Bond and Ms. Jennifer Matthews for joining this session today to share information about Syracuse University with all of you and to share about the application requirement. Welcome, Jen and Brandon. Uh, Welcome all the students as well for this meeting. And congratulations to all of you for making this far in the competition. All the best for the next steps. So in today's webinar, you're going to learn more about Syracuse University and about the application requirements. And yeah, of course, before we get going with this webinar, I just have a couple of quick announcements. The first one is that the application deadline for all of you is December 14. So December 14 is when you need to submit all components of your application. That is your Common App, your transcripts, your recommendation letters. Your counselors need to submit these details. If you have taken your tests, SAT or ACT or any subject test, you need to submit those scores as well. And if you have taken any English proficiency tests, you need to submit those as well. You need to submit your financial paperwork, your CSS profile before December 14. So, of course, Team Next Genius is here to support you, to guide you through the process. And you have, of course, support from the admission team at Syracuse. But please make sure that all these components reach them before December 14. And my second point is this session is being recorded. So we'll share the recording with you tomorrow. And if you have any questions, you can use the chat box below the chat component, and you can post your questions in the chat feature, and we'll take all the questions towards the end of the call. So with that, we are ready. Welcome, Brendan and Jennifer, once again, and over to you now.
Thank you, Devesh, for the wonderful introduction. Okay, so Brendan
I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Yeah, just one second here. Let's get it up. There we go. Hopefully that's coming in through clearly.
Yes, perfect.
There we go. There we go. Okay, well, welcome everybody to the Syracuse University information session. We are absolutely delighted to have you. I think this partnership, we're in our second year this year with the Next Genius partnership, and we're very excited to once again be a part of it. We've met some really extraordinary students so far through this process, so we're very excited to get to know all of you. And Brendan, if you want to go ahead and move to the next slide. Okay, so this is our beautiful campus in Syracuse. And I will introduce myself now because I waited until you could see this picture. So my name is Jennifer Matthews. I'm the Director of International Admissions here at Syracuse University in the Undergraduate Admissions Office. And India is near and dear to my heart. It's a place I've been recruiting in for many, many years now. And I'm very sad that I know things are probably going to be virtual for us in the near future, but didn't get to come visit this fall. But we're, like I said, very excited to be working with you. Brendan, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. As Jen mentioned, my name is Brendan Bond. I'm an assistant director here in the Office of Admissions. I work specifically with our South Asian prospective students and will be a key point of contact going forward for you all as you are completing the application process and Next Genius application process as well. So I really look forward to getting to know everybody a little bit more over the next coming months, and I look forward to our initial dialogue today during this conversation.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so one of the first questions we get asked about Syracuse is where we're located, because a lot of students have this idea that Syracuse University is either in New York City or close to New York City. And the fact is that we are not. We're about 4.5 hours northwest of New York City, in a part of the state of New York that's called the Finger Lakes region. It's a really beautiful part of the state. There's a lot of lovely state and national parks here. So anyone who's really keen on outdoor activities like hiking or canoeing or trying out a winter sport maybe for the first time, this is a great place to do that. Another great thing about our location is how easy it is to get around this part of the country. We have our own airport, our own train station, and our own bus station, all about 10 to 15 minutes away from campus. So it's very easy to get to several other places in the region. And we're about 4 to 4.5 hours away from Toronto, Montreal, Boston, and New York City, about 6 hours from Washington, DC. So a lot of great opportunities to explore some truly world-class cities, not too far away from our fantastic little college town of Syracuse. It's not a big city by Indian standards by any stretch of the imagination. However, it is a good sized city for upstate New York. And with about 250,000 people living in the metro area, and lots of fun things to do. We have great museums and restaurants and boutiques and all kinds of fun things. We also have the 6th largest mall in the United States, which is a fun fact. And we have a lot of our Canadian north of the border friends come down to go shopping in a normal year. Of course, with COVID, everything's a little bit different. But anyway, so that's a little bit about our area. Brendan, you move the slide. Okay, so this is, again, just a great shot of campus, both in the summer and in the winter, which we get all 4 seasons in Syracuse. And really, our students do enjoy the outdoors all year round. I know that sometimes it's hard to believe that our students are enjoying the outdoors in the winter, but it is true. They like to explore, do snowball fights and make snowmen and do all of those things that you see in like movies. And we have really lovely mild summer, excuse me, for the other parts of the year. Beautiful autumn, beautiful spring. So it's a really nice place to experience the changing of the seasons in the northeast part of the United States. Okay, so let's talk about academics. I think this is why everyone's here, right? So we have a wide range of programs at Syracuse. We offer over 200 academic programs at SU. They are split between these different colleges that are listed on this slide. The colleges that have the asterisks are colleges where you can apply undecided. So you can't apply undecided to all of our programs, or rather all of our colleges. And we'll talk a little bit more about the application process toward the end, but you do have to apply to a specific college at Syracuse. You can see on this slide some of our rankings as well. So we're truly a world-class institution that is known around the world for some of our programs, especially in communications, in entrepreneurship, architecture, and several other areas. So like I said, these are a list of our colleges. Okay, so I mentioned we have 200 majors. We also have 100 different minor concentrations at SU. So you can combine a wide range of study opportunities at Syracuse if you're interested in combining sort of unique areas of study. And so you can combine any minor with any major at Syracuse. I get asked quite frequently if students can double major. The answer is yes, you can, but there are some limitations depending on what college you are in and what program you are studying. But any minor at Syracuse can be combined with any major. So there are lots of opportunities to really go for interdisciplinary study, right? Really combining unique areas of study into your own sort of customized program. One of the things that makes Syracuse, in my opinion, particularly special and unique is that we really try to give our students a small classroom environment within the context of a large research university. So Syracuse has about 20,000 students. About 15,000 of them are bachelor-seeking undergraduate students, just like you will be. So about 75% of our student body is undergraduate students. And with this, we do try to give students this average class size of 26 students. We have a student-faculty ratio of 15:1. So really, even though we're a large research university, we do our best to try to give students that sort of much smaller classroom environment where you can really get to know faculty, really get to know your peers really well and have that personalized interaction. And as someone who went to a large research university myself, it was larger than Syracuse, I can definitely tell you this is very unique. Most of my classes, I didn't have classes this size until I was, a senior. So from my perspective as someone who attended a large research university myself as an undergraduate student, I think this is a really special part of the Syracuse experience. Hey, Brendan. Just some great pictures of campus. Yep, so moving on to information about career advising. So this is a really important part of the Syracuse experience as well. This slide shows some examples of some of the internship opportunities that our students have had over the last few years. I'm sure many of these names are very familiar to you. We really take an integrated academic and career advising approach at SU. So our students are starting to talk about their career goals and their goals in terms of experiential learning. It's still a little early. Anyway, so those opportunities very, very early. We really encourage students to start thinking about what kinds of professional experiences they want to have. And all of our colleges at Syracuse have career advisors. So we do have a university-wide career services office, which I believe we'll talk a little bit more about in a later slide. But we also have career specialists within all of the different colleges. And so when you are looking for contacts in a specific industry, we have a number of people on campus who can connect our students to great opportunities. We really do believe that it's important to prepare you for going out into the real world. Your plans are going to be tailored again to your goals, and they're going to be helping you with course selections to make sure that you can fulfill those goals or apply to graduate school if that's what your aim is. So there is really a big emphasis on student success at Syracuse, and we really do believe that the strength of our institution is really only as strong as the strength of our graduates, right? So Brendan, you want to move the slide? Okay, so I've mentioned sort of experiential learning and how important having hands-on experience is. And that's true sort of across the board, regardless of what you're studying at SU. So SU is a Carnegie designated Tier 1 research institution. So out of the 4,000 some institutions in the United States, there are only about 100 or so that are designated as Tier 1 research universities. And a lot of people, I think when they think of research, they think of this top picture here, someone in a lab doing science experiments, which is certainly part of it. And we have a lot of great STEM research happening at SU. But we also have students who are doing research across all of our disciplines, in immigration, in the Maxwell School, or other public policy related issues, public health, students who are doing a linguistic study, forensic science. I mean, we have lots of different areas across the board. Even in business, students are doing research. I actually talked to a student in architecture who is studying biomimetics, so how building materials can benefit from traits found in nature in order to be more effective building structures. So really interesting research that's happening across all of our disciplines, not just the sciences. And we also have the Syracuse Stage, which is our fully student-run theater program at SU. Again, a great program. We're in the top 10 universities represented on Broadway. It's a fun fact. So really our strong acting program, but also student theater management and a number of other opportunities there. And we also have the Blackstone Launchpad and the Student Sandbox. We have some business entrepreneurship incubators. So if you're interested in launching a business, we have opportunities for that as well. And then the bottom picture is our NASA grade flight simulator. We have an aerospace engineering program, which some of you may already know if that's an area of study that you're interested in. In this particular picture, the woman on the left, her name is Eileen Collins. She is a Syracuse alum, and she was also the first female space shuttle commander for NASA, which is really awesome. So we're very proud of that. Okay, Brendan. Okay, so another thing that we really like to emphasize at Syracuse is study abroad opportunities. Now, again, this year has been a little unique with the COVID situation, and this has been definitely a challenge this year, but in a normal year. Syracuse offers 5 different study abroad centers that we own in different countries around the world. So we have a program in Florence, one in London, one in Strasbourg, France, one in Madrid, and then we have a program in Santiago, Chile. And we also have we have partner programs in 60 other countries as well. So we're not limited to those particular centers. But what's great about Syracuse Study Abroad is that we really have tried to build study abroad programs that fit within majors that traditionally it's difficult to find time to study abroad in. So things like engineering or architecture. And Syracuse has a very long tradition of this. We have one of the oldest study abroad programs in the country. We also offer something called Discovery, which is a first semester study abroad program for incoming first year students, where you would go for your very first semester to Madrid, Florence, or Strasbourg. And if you're doing engineering, you are limited to Madrid, but it's a really great opportunity for students who are really internationally minded to have a chance to really get to know a cohort of students in one of our study abroad centers before joining the larger campus community in your second semester. So it's a really great opportunity we encourage students to consider. And now I'll pass it off to Brendan to talk about student life.
Thanks, Jen. Hi, everybody again. So yeah, we're gonna just transition in the presentation here and talk a little bit more about what it is like to be a student on campus. And certainly in terms of the academic experience, both inside the classroom and outside of the classroom, Syracuse University, when it comes to student life, very much is that quintessential American university experience. In fact, it's hard to think of another institution in the Northeast part of the United States, a private institution especially, that can match both the academic rigor that we have here and the school spirit. So very much in line with what you would imagine a US university experience is all about. You can see there, that's a picture of the Dome Arena on campus here at Syracuse University. We, have incredible school spirit that binds the community. So in terms of our student experience on campus, in terms of diversity, we are diverse in the broadest sense, socioeconomically, geographically, culturally. We have students from all 50 states here on campus. We have student representation from over 160 countries and territories at the undergraduate and graduate level. In fact, I'm trying to think, there's a main little street that's off campus called Marshall Street, where there is a lot of different restaurants and shops. And I can think of at least 2 South Asian restaurants, and there are 2 pizza places. So you can just that fact alone can give you a sense of the diversity that's present on our campus. And all that being said, we bleed orange. It's the connection to the campus community that really gives everybody a connective tissue that bonds and allows us to celebrate the time that we have here at Syracuse. And nowhere more is our diversity felt, though, in the 300 plus students, clubs and organizations that we have here on campus. Everything from intramural sports, club sports, social clubs, civic engagement, community service. If you're interested in esports, academic clubs, there are so many different ways to be involved on campus. Cultural organizations. In fact, I work closely with some members of the South Asian Student Association, and it's one of the more active cultural organizations that we have on campus. So you would very much have a home away from home with the South Asian community here at Syracuse University. In terms of the surrounding area, as Jen mentioned, there's some beautiful countryside that comes off of campus. So you can certainly join things like the ski club if you want to take your hand at a winter sports, but just really an incredibly vibrant community here on campus, dynamic community. And what's great about coming to a place like Syracuse is you absolutely are going to be able to find your niche, to find your crew, to find the people that you want to be involved with in terms of clubs, organizations, academics. You know, if you want your experience at Syracuse to have a cornerstone of going to the Dome and you know, taking part with 35,000 of your closest friends, SU men's and women's basketball, that can absolutely be a big part of your experience. And in the same breath, you can walk across campus and talk to people that have never been in the Dome, couldn't tell you the difference between a center and a guard on a basketball court. So it's really an incredibly dynamic atmosphere, a place where you can shape your own experience. And I have a colleague of mine that likes to joke that if you are bored on campus, you unfortunately are just a boring person. There is too much going on to not be involved somehow with our campus community. There are lots of speakers that come to campus. You can see there Trevor Noah in the top left. He had an opportunity to celebrate Martin Luther King Day with us, to celebrate diversity and inclusion on campus. And as part of that international community, you would very much be a part of the diversity. At the undergraduate level, we have students that come from over 120 different countries. You can see there the numbers of representation we have at the undergraduate and graduate level. And as an international student on campus, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to have your back to make sure that your transition is as smooth as possible, and then that you are achieving success while you're here on campus. So beginning with us in the admissions office on the international team, making sure that your application process is as smooth as possible, helping you go through the Next Genius Scholarship Program. And then once you get onto campus, you know, working with our Center for International Services, who run a fantastic orientation program for international students. And then they are the ones that are going to be the chief mentors for you as you're making your way through Syracuse University, to help you keep track of all the fun things that have to do with visa maintenance and other questions as it relates to your experience as being a university student at an American campus. So there are a lot of folks here on campus that are going to really help you have that wonderful, supportive time here at SU. And speaking of support, we want to highlight the new Barnes Center at the Arch. This is a new integrated wellness facility on campus, all health-related services. So everything from seeing a physician, you know, counseling services, recreation. You know, a hallmark of U.S. university education is that it really is a fully supportive and a fully encapsulated experience, meaning when you come to campus here at SU, not only are you going to be having a phenomenal residential community living on campus, which I'll talk about, but, you know, academically, you're going to have that experience, but also everything else that you need to be successful is going to be found connected to the campus community. So again, you're going to have doctors on campus if you're feeling unwell, you can meet with, or counseling services, recreation. And this is all under one roof at the new Barnes Center at the Arch. And we were very much deliberate in the way in which that we redesigned this facility and putting all of these services in one location, because there can be a lot of stigma in walking into a standalone facility on a campus, you know, the counseling center or the health center. And we want to make sure that those facilities are all seen, all those services are all seen in the same light, meaning, you know, if you're feeling stressed out, some students would prefer to maybe go run on a treadmill for 30 minutes. Some students may prefer to go talk to a member of the counseling staff. Bottom line is, we want to make sure that you're feeling comfortable getting the services that you need to be successful at your camp during your Syracuse University experience. Also want to highlight our new student center, the Shine Student Center, an enhanced and updated space for gathering, meeting, studying. All of our cultural and student club offices are found here as well. It's really just a redesign of our existing student center to match what students need and deserve out of a 21st century higher education experience. And so that both these facilities are open. I believe the Barnes Center opened last fall of 2019, and I believe the Shine Student Center is opening up this fall at some point as well. So really excited to get back to campus to see what that looks like, but anticipating a phenomenal location for our new student center. As I mentioned, all of this still considering, we are a traditional residential campus community. You're going to have that residence hall experience as a first and second year student here at Syracuse University. There is a residence requirement for those first 2 years to live on campus as a student of Syracuse University. And then once you move beyond your second year, in your third, fourth year, you can choose to remain on campus, or you can choose to live off campus as well. So lots of different options for your residential experience here at Syracuse University. Okay, just kind of moving into the latter part of our presentation, and I want to talk a little bit about the network of people that is going to be there to help you navigate your academic to your professional life when you're looking to graduate. And a big part of this is our alumni network. I talked a lot about the school spirit that we have here at Syracuse University. And the fact of the matter is that doesn't end when students graduate and leave campus. It just creates this incredibly engaged alumni community that love giving back to our current student community and helping other alums as well. So these are the folks that are going to help you get your foot in the door for an informational interview, help you get your resume to the top of a pile, help you provide you with a connection for an internship. These are 260,000 living alum strong that are literally in every corner of the globe, that are industry leaders. It's remarkable to me when in a typical year when I would be traveling on behalf of the university, I'm sure Jen can attest to this as well. We may have like a Syracuse University luggage tag on our bags as we're walking through the airport, and whether we're in Mumbai, Delhi, Rio de Janeiro, Beijing, or in New York City, I mean, there's going to be somebody that comes up to you and can talk to you and attest to their connection to Syracuse University. It's really an incredibly widespread and engaged alumni community. And what's great about this is because when you're looking to graduate, you want a crew of people that's going to have your back to help you make that transition from your academic to your professional life. I talked about the connections that they're going to provide. In fact, they've actually been nicknamed the Orange Mafia because they're so important in helping our students and fellow alum as well. I mean, imagine, you're graduated from Syracuse University and you have a job with Ernst & Young and you're down in Manhattan, New York City. There is incredible social network of Syracuse University alum in New York City that you're going to have the opportunity to network with. So it's an incredibly powerful network that is really going to help you in making that transition from your academic to your professional life to find success after you graduate. So here, I think Jen may want to talk a little bit about the application process to Syracuse University, talk about some of the finer points in going through the app.
Brendan, did you not mention Mr. Biden?
Of course, yes, absolutely. How could I forget? Our president-elect is a Syracuse University College of Law alumni. So that is a little bit of a feather in our cap, I think, having a connection. In fact, President-elect Joe Biden is the first first president to be elected that did not attend an Ivy League institution. So he did his undergrad at Delaware and obviously his law degree here at Syracuse. So really, really proud of that fact. So yeah, absolutely. How could I forget that? Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, I was like, what? Okay. Anyway, so we're all really excited about that. Anyway, we did want to talk about the application process. I do know that many of you are in the middle of this, and some of you have already started to submit your applications, which is fantastic. But, a couple of notes that we wanted to make. So first of all, again, you probably know this, but Syracuse is Common App exclusive. So in order to apply to SU, you do have to apply via the Common application. We have an early decision deadline, which actually already passed, but most of you, I believe, are applying RD through the Next Genius program, which is totally fine. So regular decision is fine with your deadline of December 14th. The sort of university-wide deadline is January 1, but I know that Next Genius wants you to have your materials in so that the admissions committee can start to review your applications in an early and timely fashion, and before the interview weekend in January. So we definitely do encourage you to try to get all of your materials in. If you have submitted your application, you will about a week or so later receive an email confirmation from our office with login information for your MySlice account, which is your student account with your application checklist. And we do practice holistic admission review here. So we are going to be looking at a lot of factors. Of course, your transcript and your academic history will be a big part of that. So how did you perform within the context of your curriculum or your high school is going to be a major factor. We are fully test optional this year, although we've actually always been SAT, ACT optional for students outside of the United States. So actually you would have never had to have submitted SAT scores to SU in the past. But again, for this year, we're also doing that for our domestic students. So we will be fully test optional this year. I know all of you will be doing an interview weekend with us, but we do encourage interviews for our applicants. And, we look at a lot of things when we're looking at admission into Syracuse. One of the things that's a little bit unique about SU, and I mentioned this briefly when I was talking about academics, is that you do have to apply to a specific college at SU. So as we said during that slide, you can apply undecided to several of those colleges, but you do have to pick a college. You have an option to select a first choice major and a second choice major. Your first choice major really should truly be the #1 program you want to study at SU, but your second choice should be something maybe a little bit different, maybe in a different college, because the fact is that if you're not admissible to, your first choice program, for example, in the School of Management, then you likely won't be admissible to your second choice in management either. So it's a good idea to sort of diversify the colleges you pick for your first choice and second choice in the Common App. And so I mentioned that because one of the factors that we take into consideration in holistic admission review at Syracuse is your fit for the major that you've applied for. So while academics are very important, there's a range of selectivity rates for our different colleges. And there are different things that we look at for students who are good fit for different programs, right? So really that's something to keep in mind at SU, that what a good fit is for one college may not necessarily be true for all of our programs. And then, of course, the scholarship program. With Next Genius, we typically will offer as many awards as we can, but at least one student from the Next Genius cohort will receive a full tuition scholarship, which is called the 1870 award. So that's a little bit about the admissions process. We often, in many cases, will waive English proficiency requirements for students coming from India. It is a case-by-case basis, but so it's not a blanket waiver. But if you have done English testing, we certainly encourage you to submit it. And we would appreciate having the extra information. But Brendan and I will also consider you for a TOEFL waiver at the time of application review as well. So there's that piece as well. And then of course the common application sort of includes all of those extra materials. So your activities list, your essays, and then of course we look at your recommendation letters as well to see what kind of student you are in the classroom and see you within the context of your whole graduating class. Okay, so we're ready for questions. Please feel free to ask them.
First of all, thank you so much, Brendan and Jennifer, for sharing the presentation and for sharing all the information with us. I have a couple of questions coming in. The first one is, how can students apply for English proficiency waivers, or do they need to take any English proficiency tests like IELTS or Duolingo?
Okay, so technically speaking, it's going to show up on their application checklist. If you're an international student, it will show up on your application checklist. We will consider students for waivers during the application review process. So if we have an application that completes, we're evaluating the file, and we don't have an English proficiency exam and the student would qualify for it, we would do that in the review process. I will say, like I said, in my experience, typically we do waive it for students in India because, most of your educational structure is taught in English. So it's a fully English medium curriculum. So in many cases, we will waive it. But if you have an English proficiency exam you want us to see, we're more than happy to accept it. In order to officially request a waiver, the process would be that you apply for admission first. Your school has to send in your supporting academic records, and then we will evaluate those pieces to consider you for a TOEFL waiver if you don't want to wait for us to do it during the application review process. Does that make sense?
Yes, perfect, great. Okay, and how about test scores? Do the students, can the students self-report their SATs or ACTs, or do they need to send it through the college board or the ACT website?
Yeah, they have to be sent through the testing agency. Will not accept self-reported scores.
Okay, great. What are some of the favorite traditions that you have personally, Brendan and Jen?
Favorite traditions in terms of, I think, okay, so it's hard to kind of pin down one different experience. I mean, in terms of, there's a lot of events that happen around graduation that are really fun to take part in. But I think just kind of a traditional experience, you don't even need to be a fan really of American football to take part in this, but in a normal year on Saturdays prior to home football games in the Dome, there's a lot of activity that happens on the campus. It's like a Syracuse University celebration. Every Saturday there's a home football game. And so the main quad, there are tents that are set up, there are food, there's music. It's a lot of fun to take part in. Jen, what is the, and then I'm just thinking along the lines of celebrations, and it made me think of not Juice Jam, but what's the event that happens around graduation in April? Springfest? Mayfest. So that's not a tradition that I've taken part in, but it seems a lot of fun, harkening back to my university days. But it's basically just like a big music festival that happens at the end of the year to celebrate the culmination of the last semester of the spring term. So that's a lot of fun to take part in as well.
Yeah, so there's one of the things that you're going to find when you come to Syracuse is that the number 44 has a great deal of significance. And so one of our well-known alumni is Ernie Davis, who was a football player, American football player at Syracuse. And he's kind of a big deal in the US and here. And so the number 44 has a great deal of significance at Syracuse. That was his jersey number at SU on the team. And there's this sort of fun first year tradition. We have 44 things that students have to do in their first year to get a full SU experience. And there's a whole list, it's a whole checklist of things that we want students to do around campus and activities to participate in your first year to really get a full SU experience. So I personally think that's a really fun tradition. And definitely, again, you'll hear a lot about the number 44. It's in all of our phone numbers. It's in our zip code. It's like a thing at Syracuse. So I think that's a really fun tradition that we have at Syracuse.
That's great. Wonderful. Okay, so the next question is what kind of support do the students get from the careers office when they're applying for internships and jobs upon graduation?
Yeah, so there's sort of a couple of things that go on here. So you have the Career Services Office, which supports the whole campus. So they do things like help students prepare their resume or their CV. They will work with them on prepping your interviewing skills. They will help you with job searches and learning how to do an effective job search, connect you to the Alumni Network, that kind of thing. The colleges also have career advisors, and they're well connected within specific industries. So, we have people, in fact, actually one of our former coworkers workers in the admissions office is currently working with career services in the Whitman School of Management. And so she does a lot of things where they'll arrange like industry specific career days where they'll have recruiters from different companies come to campus, talk to our students. In a given year, our students will usually have the opportunity to interact with over 300 different companies or recruiters who come to campus to meet our students for internship and job opportunities. So we really do our best to give a lot of career development and support. So it's about more than just like placing you. It's really about helping you develop the skills to do as a lifelong skill set to help you effectively be a successful job seeker and candidate for a position.
Okay, that's great. That's very helpful. Does Syracuse accept AP credits?
Yes, we do. There's actually, if you go to the website and just search for like AP credits, there's actually a chart that will tell you like how much credit you get for what AP exam and what score you need in order to get that credit.
Okay, wonderful. Here's a very interesting question. What's the gender ratio like in the College of Engineering?
Well, I would say that, to no surprise to anyone, it's definitely not the most balanced college in terms of gender ratio. It's I want to say it's what, like 70-30 male. Is that right, Brendan?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, I don't think it's that severe, but yeah, there's definitely more male students than female.
Maybe it's 60-40. Sure. It's definitely, there's definitely a lot more male students. We always love having female students who want to do engineering and computer science because, you know, we always like to increase that gender balance and give students more opportunity. Plus, I will say this, that women in the College of Engineering and Computer Science have tons of opportunities to apply for additional funding and, you know, get there's a women in STEM learning community. So like we definitely are pushing it, and we love those women who are coming studying engineering and STEM.
That's great. So when a student applies to Syracuse, do they apply to a specific major or a specific college, or what happens to the students who apply undecided?
Okay, so I mentioned a couple of times that students do have to apply to a specific college. So about half of Brendan, I don't know if you can go back to that slide that lists the colleges or not. But about half of the colleges will allow students to apply undecided. So what would happen in that case? So let's say, for example, you're interested in studying business, but you're not sure if you'd rather do accounting or finance or management, right? And so here you can see this slide. These are our colleges. The slides that have the orange asterisk are the ones you can apply to undecided. So if like I said, if you want to apply to business, you would pick undecided under the School of Management. Right. So you do apply to a specific major. However, if you do want to apply to like finance or accounting, then you do that as well. So you definitely have the option to apply undecided to about half of our colleges at SU. But not all of them that's not possible in all of them. So for example, like the School of Architecture, we only have one major and it's architecture, right? So like you can't apply undecided to architecture because you really only have one option. And with visual and performing arts, those BFA programs are very specific. So we don't really allow students to apply to the College of Visual and Performing Arts undecided either. So there are some limitations to that, but yes, generally speaking, most of our colleges do allow students to apply undecided.
Okay, wonderful. One last question before we close the call. So how frequently first of all, can students change, get admitted to a specific college and then change or get, study a major at a different college? Does that happen? Yeah,
so there's a couple, it's sort of complicated like many things. I mean, the short answer is yes. I mean, if you apply to something, you're not going to be stuck in it forever if you find it's not a great fit for you. There are some challenges to students moving around depending on what it is. So like, for example, if you start in graphic design and you decide you want to switch into architecture, that's really tough because architecture is a really small school. There are very limited seats available. We haven't admitted a transfer student to architecture in 3 years. So like, that's tough, right? But if you start in something like business and decide, you know what, econ's a better fit for me, no problem. Like that's an easy move. So it kind of just depends on like from what to what you want to switch between. A lot of it has to do with seat limitations in sort of smaller, more selective majors. We just don't have open seats available for students to transfer around. But again, it depends. I mean, there are options to double major. Again, not every college allows it. Like architecture, you can't double major with. But you can do any minor with any major. And so, you know, there are some limitations, but generally speaking, I would say the vast majority of our students do double major, especially in the College of Arts and Sciences. So, you know, we have students who've even done triple, quadruple majors in the College of Arts and Sciences. So there are definitely opportunities to combine your interests. And there are opportunities to double major in multiple colleges. When you're applying, if you look at your, you know, the drop down in the Common App, we also have these programs that are called dual degree programs, like dual enrollment majors. And those programs are like a single major in 2 different colleges. So like, for example, you can combine business and communications or business and information studies and do a dual degree program in those areas. So there are some interesting options. Obviously, Brendan just put our, well, actually, no, Devesh did. Devesh put our email addresses in the chat box. And if you have questions about like these dual major programs or any of this stuff, you are very welcome to email either of us. We're very happy to help. You know, it can definitely get a little complicated when you're looking at a list of like 200 programs to choose from, you know, and you're interested in combining this and this, like, how does it work? So we're very happy to be in touch with you to kind of explain it in more detail.
Super, wonderful. So before we close, any final word of advice from both of you to all these bright young students who are applying to Syracuse?
Brendan, you want to go first?
Oh yeah, I mean the biggest piece of advice that I always have for prospective students is just to, you know, take advantage of your resources. So reach out to the Next Genius team, reach out to your high school counselors, your high school teachers, and most importantly, you know, reach out to us with any questions that you have. This is what we do. This is our job. You know, I'm happy, you know, if you want to get questions answered quickly, if you want to set up a Zoom conversation, I'd be happy to do that. You know, or by email, whatever works best for you, but definitely take advantage of your resources. You know, it can be a little bit of a confusing process for sure. So take that confusion out of it and give us a call.
Yeah, and I would say my biggest piece of advice, and I know this is really hard to believe, students never believe me when I say this, but the fact is that what we really want from you is for your authentic self to come out. We don't want you to spend all this time worrying about what you think is going to impress the admissions committee. We're admitting you, right? We're admitting you as a community member, and we want to know who you are, what excites you, what you're going to bring to the table, and those unique talents and things that make you who you are. That's what we want to know about, right? And so don't worry too much about impressing us so much as showing us who you really are and why you think you would be an amazing fit for our community. And that, to me, I think is one of the most important pieces of advice, is to be authentic.
Wonderful. So thank you, Jen. Thank you, Brendan, for spending time with us this evening and for sharing your wonderful insights with the students. And to all the students, unfortunately, we could not take all the questions here tonight. We had limited time, but please feel free to reach out to us, reach out to Brendan and Jen. They're also there on the, Brendan is also there on the WhatsApp group. So maybe you can post the questions there, or feel free to email them. I've just posted their email IDs here. So once again, have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.